Someone is crazy in love with you. And it's because you did this. Watch before it's too late. Don't scroll, listen to this. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, because if these words pulled you in, that wasn't curiosity, it was recognition. And listen closely, because somewhere, without you realizing it, someone's feelings shifted the moment you changed, not because you said the right thing, not because you chased or explained yourself, but because you finally did something rare and powerful. You chose yourself. And don't scroll, listen to this, because when you chose peace over chaos, truth over pretending, and self-respect over settling, the universe felt it, and so did they. And your heart needs this right now, because this didn't happen on the surface, it happened spiritually, energetically, at a level words can't always reach. And listen carefully, because you didn't make them fall in love by doing more. You did it by stopping the overgiving, stopping the emotional bargaining, stopping the habit of shrinking just to keep someone close. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the moment you stopped abandoning yourself, something in them woke up, and your heart needs this right now, because that awakening wasn't comfortable for them, it was shocking, unsettling, and undeniable. And listen closely, because when someone is used to your availability, your explanations, your patience, and suddenly you become calm, centered, and unavailable to chaos, it forces them to confront what they might lose. And don't scroll, listen to this, because loss is what awakens love faster than possession ever could. And your heart needs this right now, because you didn't manipulate anything, you aligned, and alignment is magnetic. And listen carefully, because you may have noticed signs appearing lately, angel numbers like 11. 11 showing up when they cross your mind, not as fantasy, but as recognition. 222 appearing when doubt tries to creep in, reminding you to stay balanced and not second-guess your worth. And 444 showing up when you feel strangely protected from reaching out or going backward. And don't scroll, listen to this, because those numbers are not about them, they are about you. Confirming that what you did was right, even if it felt lonely at first. And your heart needs this right now, because loneliness is often the doorway to self-respect. And listen closely, because when you stopped chasing, something else happened. You became clear, and clarity is rare, clarity is powerful, clarity makes people reflect. And don't scroll, listen to this, because reflection is where love grows when it's real, not in constant contact, not in emotional noise, but in the silence where someone realizes, they're not chasing me anymore, and I don't know how to handle that. And your heart needs this right now, because that silence is where their feelings deepened, not faded. And listen carefully, because this connection didn't intensify because you leaned in, it intensified because you stepped back with dignity. And don't scroll, listen to this, because dignity is irresistible to a soul that recognizes it too late. And your heart needs this right now, because you may be tempted to doubt yourself, to wonder if you imagined the shift. But listen closely, because the universe does not reward self-abandonment with signs. It rewards alignment with confirmation. And don't scroll, listen to this, because 777 may have appeared when you felt a spiritual calm settle in, a sense that something was activated, not chaotic, but purposeful. And your heart needs this right now, because 777 signals spiritual awakening, and awakening changes how others perceive you. And listen carefully, because you are no longer vibrating at the frequency of "please choose me," you are vibrating at "I choose myself." And don't scroll, listen to this, because that frequency is powerful, it disrupts old dynamics, and it forces others to either rise or feel the loss. and your heart needs this right now because they are feeling it, deeply, whether they admit it or not, and listen closely, because what they fell in love with was not your availability, it was your absence combined with your peace, your ability to walk away without bitterness, your silence without resentment, your calm without explanation, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because that kind of strength awakens something primal in the soul, something that says, "This person knows their worth, and I may lose them," and your heart needs this right now because that realization hit them hard, and listen carefully, because urgency does not mean panic, it means awareness, and don't scroll, listen to this, because, "Watch before it's too late," is not a warning to chase them back, it's a reminder to stay aligned, and your heart needs this right now because alignment is what keeps the door open without forcing it. And listen closely, because if you go backward now, if you undo the healing, if you shrink again just to be chosen, the magic fades, not because you lose them, but because you lose yourself, and don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe is not asking you to perform, it's asking you to remain who you've become, and your heart needs this right now because who you've become is magnetic, grounded, and awake, and listen carefully. Because soulmate-level attraction does not come from effort, it comes from authenticity, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because you stopped performing and started being, and that's why this hit them so deeply, and your heart needs this right now because the next move is not about action, it's about embodiment, staying in your truth, your calm, your boundaries, and your peace, and listen closely. Because when you stay there, the universe responds quickly, either by bringing them forward with clarity and effort, or by sending someone new who meets you at this level without confusion, and don't scroll, listen to this, because either way, you win when you don't abandon yourself, and your heart needs this right now because this part ends on a cliffhanger for a reason. What happens next depends on whether you stay aligned or return to old patterns, and listen carefully, because destiny responds to consistency, not moments of strength, and don't scroll, listen to this, because the reason they're crazy in love is because you finally remembered who you are, and what happens next will be shaped by whether you keep honoring that version of yourself, stay grounded in your worth, and trust that what's meant for you will never require you to chase, beg, or disappear. To be loved. Don't scroll, listen to this message is for you, and if you came back for this part, your heart needs this right now because this is where the universe starts explaining why what you did changed everything, and listen closely because when you chose yourself, when you stopped reacting, chasing, explaining, or overgiving, you didn't just shift your behavior. You shifted your frequency, and don't scroll, listen to this, because frequency is what the soul responds to before the mind ever catches up, and your heart needs this right now because that's why they felt it before they understood it, and listen carefully, because the moment you became calm instead of emotional, grounded instead of reactive, quiet instead of available on demand, something inside them panicked. Not because they wanted control, but because they felt the energetic cord loosen, and don't scroll, listen to this, because detachment done with love is the most powerful mirror you can hold up to someone's feelings, and your heart needs this right now because you didn't pull away to punish them, you pulled back to protect yourself, and that difference matters spiritually, and listen closely. Because the universe honors self-protection with confirmation, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because that's why divine numbers started appearing with more intensity after you stepped back, not before, and your heart needs this right now because alignment triggers signs, not desperation, and listen carefully, because when 1111 appears now, it's not asking you to wish, it's confirming awakening. The moment your soul chose truth over attachment, and don't scroll, listen to this, because 11 at this stage means, you see clearly now, and your heart needs this right now because clarity ends cycles, and listen closely, because 222 may be showing up when you're tempted to second-guess yourself, to wonder if you should reach out, explain, soften your boundaries, and 222 is divine balance reminding you not to undo what brought you peace, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because peace is fragile only when you don't protect it, and your heart needs this right now because you finally learned how to protect it, and listen carefully, because 333 may have appeared when you felt emotionally supported without knowing why, moments when you felt calm even though nothing was resolved yet, and 333 is divine presence, reassurance that you are not alone in this pause, and don't scroll, listen to this, because pauses are sacred when guided. And your heart needs this right now because sacred pauses allow truth to surface, and listen closely, because 444 may have appeared when the universe physically blocked you from going backward, missed chances to reconnect, silence where there used to be noise, delays that frustrated you at first. And 444 is protection activated, not rejection, and don't scroll, listen to this, because protection often feels like loss before it feels like relief, and your heart needs this right now because relief is coming, and listen carefully, because 555 may have appeared during emotional spikes, moments when you felt like everything could change if you just acted, just reached out, just broke your silence. And 555 is transformation reminding you that real change comes from staying aligned, not reacting impulsively, and don't scroll, listen to this, because impulse is the language of old patterns, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer living from old patterns, and listen closely, because 666 may have shown up when fear whispered that you're losing something important, that stepping back means missing out on love, and 666 is recalibration, pulling your thoughts back into truth, reminding you that fear exaggerates loss and minimizes growth, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because fear wants you to go back to what's familiar, even if it hurts, and your heart needs this right now because you chose unfamiliar peace instead, and listen carefully, because 777 may have appeared when you felt a strange calm settle in, a sense that something had shifted spiritually, and 777 is activation, the sign that your choice aligned you with a higher timeline, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because higher timelines don't feel dramatic, they feel steady, and your heart needs this right now because steadiness is what triggered their feelings, not drama, not intensity, but your grounded absence, and listen closely, because when you stopped feeding the dynamic, it forced them to confront their emotions without your emotional labor cushioning it, and don't scroll, listen to this, because that's when love becomes real or reveals itself as attachment. And your heart needs this right now because either outcome works in your favor when you stay aligned, and listen carefully, because 888 may have appeared when you imagined being met halfway, being chosen clearly, being loved without confusion, and 888 is divine reciprocity, showing you what you are now energetically available for, not what you're leaving behind, and don't scroll, listen to this, because availability determines outcomes more than desire. And your heart needs this right now because you are no longer available for half love, hidden love, or love that needs you to shrink, and listen closely, because 999 may have appeared when you felt ready to release the old dynamic emotionally, even if part of you still cared, and 999 is completion, the closing of a chapter that taught you how powerful you are when you choose yourself, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because completion doesn't mean the story failed, it means it fulfilled its purpose. And your heart needs this right now because this purpose was awakening, not permanence, and listen carefully, because here's the truth. That may surprise you. The reason they're crazy in love is not because you became distant, it's because you became whole. And don't scroll, listen to this, because wholeness is magnetic, and your heart needs this right now because magnetism doesn't chase, it attracts. And listen closely, because attraction without effort is the universe responding to alignment. And don't scroll, listen to this, because this is why you're being told to watch before it's too late. Not to rush back, but to stay grounded, stay centered. Stay honest with yourself, and your heart needs this right now because if you break your alignment now, the lesson repeats. And listen carefully, because destiny responds to consistency, not momentary strength. And don't scroll, listen to this, because staying aligned is how outcomes shift, either bringing them forward with real effort and clarity, or making space for someone who meets you without hesitation. And your heart needs this right now because either path leads to peace when you don't. Abandon yourself, and listen closely, because the universe is not testing you anymore, it's watching what you choose now that you know your worth. And don't scroll, listen to this, because knowing your worth changes everything. And your heart needs this right now because the next chapter depends on whether you protect the version of you that caused this awakening. And listen carefully, because that version of you does not chase, does not explain, does not beg, and does not shrink. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that version of you is the reason someone woke up to their feelings. And your heart needs this right now because staying that version of you is what determines what comes next. And listen closely, because this part ends here not with urgency, but with empowerment, the empowerment of knowing that love responds to alignment, not effort. And the universe is already responding to you in ways you may not fully see yet, but soon, very soon, the clarity will arrive, and it will feel earned, peaceful, and undeniable. Don't scroll, listen to this message is for you. And if you're still here, your heart needs this right now because this is where the universe moves from confirmation into consequence. And listen closely because what you did didn't just awaken feelings in someone else, it activated a turning point in your own destiny. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the moment you chose yourself, the moment you stopped reacting emotionally and started responding spiritually, the entire dynamic shifted in ways that cannot be reversed. And your heart needs this right now because you may feel a strange mix of power and uncertainty, like something big has changed but hasn't fully shown itself yet. And listen carefully, because that feeling is the space between alignment and manifestation. And don't scroll, listen to this, because most people leave at this stage, they panic, they doubt, they go backward to regain familiarity. And your heart needs this right now because you are being asked to stay steady, not to act, not to fix, not to explain, but to hold your ground energetically. And listen closely, because the universe has been sending you divine numbers not to tease you, but to stabilize you while this shift locks in. And don't scroll, listen to this, because when 11 appears now, it's no longer about wishing or hoping, it's about alignment recognition, that moment where your soul knows, I crossed a line I cannot uncross, not a bad line, a higher one. And your heart needs this right now because once alignment happens, the old version of you cannot lead again. And listen carefully, because 222 may be appearing when doubt creeps in, when your mind wonders if you should reach out, soften your boundaries, or explain yourself just to ease the tension. And 222 is divine balance stepping in, reminding you that easing tension by self-abandonment always creates deeper imbalance later. And don't scroll, listen to this, because balance protects outcomes, and your heart needs this right now because you are protecting something sacred. Your future, and listen closely, because 333 may be appearing during moments of emotional calm that feel unfamiliar, when you realize you're not spiraling like you used to, and 333 is divine support, confirmation that you are being held steady while the universe rearranges circumstances around you. And don't scroll, listen to this, because support doesn't always come as answers. Sometimes it comes as peace that doesn't make sense yet, and your heart needs this right now because peace is the signal you're on the right path, even when clarity hasn't arrived. And listen carefully, because 444 may be appearing repeatedly when the universe blocks impulsive action, missed opportunities to reach out, delays, silence, distractions that pull your attention elsewhere. And 444 is protection in motion, not against love, but against repeating cycles that would weaken your alignment. And don't scroll, listen to this, because protection can feel like restriction when emotions are involved, but your heart needs this right now because restriction now prevents regret later. And listen closely, because 555 may be appearing when you feel the urge to change everything suddenly, to force movement, to break the stillness, and 555 is transformation, reminding you that real change does not require panic, it requires patience. And don't scroll, listen to this, because panic belongs to the old version of you, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer operating from panic. And listen carefully, because 666 may show up when fear whispers that you're losing control, that things are slipping away, that staying silent means missing your chance. And 666 is recalibration, pulling your thoughts back into truth, reminding you that control is not alignment. And don't scroll, listen to this, because alignment feels calm even when outcomes are unknown, and your heart needs this right now because calm is the frequency that attracts clarity. And listen closely, because 777 may appear when you feel a deep spiritual calm, a sense that something has been sealed energetically. And 777 is activation, confirmation that a higher timeline is now in motion. And don't scroll, listen to this, because higher timelines don't rush, they rearrange. And your heart needs this right now because rearrangement takes time. And listen carefully, because 888 may be appearing when you imagine mutual effort, clear communication, and being chosen openly. And 888 is divine reciprocity, showing you what you are now aligned with, not what you're leaving behind. And don't scroll, listen to this, because reciprocity feels different than obsession. And your heart needs this right now because obsession demands energy, while reciprocity returns it. And listen closely, because 999 may appear when you feel emotionally complete, even if the situation itself isn't resolved yet. And 999 is completion, signaling that you have finished the lesson regardless of what the other person does next. And don't scroll, listen to this, because your completion does not depend on their behavior. And your heart needs this right now because waiting for someone else to change used to keep you stuck. And listen carefully, because here's the truth most people miss. The reason they're crazy in love is not because you pulled away emotionally, it's because you stopped leaking energy. And don't scroll, listen to this, because energy leakage keeps people comfortable, while energy containment forces reflection. And your heart needs this right now because reflection is where genuine love either deepens or dissolves. And listen closely, because when you stopped cushioning the dynamic with your emotional labor, they were left alone with their feelings. And don't scroll, listen to this, because feelings processed alone hit differently, they mature, they clarify, they become undeniable. and your heart needs this right now because this is where obsession turns into awareness, and awareness demands action or acceptance, and listen carefully, because the universe is watching not what they do next, but what you do now that you know your power, and don't scroll, listen to this, because this is the test. Will you stay aligned even when attention returns, even when curiosity pulls, even when the urge to reconnect arises, and your heart needs this right now because alignment is fragile only when you don't respect it, and listen closely, because respecting alignment means trusting that what's meant for you will meet you without chasing, without games, without you shrinking, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because soulmate-level love responds to self-respect, not sacrifice, and your heart needs this right now because sacrifice without reciprocity creates resentment, not union, and listen carefully, because the universe is preparing to reveal what this awakening leads to, but only if you remain steady, and don't scroll, listen to this, because steadiness is the bridge between desire and destiny, and your heart needs this right now because destiny does not move toward chaos, it moves toward clarity, and listen closely. Because clarity comes when you stop narrating the story and let actions speak, and don't scroll, listen to this, because silence at this stage is not avoidance, it's confidence, and your heart needs this right now because confidence is felt energetically, and listen carefully, because that confidence is what's unsettling them, not your absence, but your peace, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because peace is contagious, and your heart needs this right now because peace forces truth to surface, and listen closely, because if they are meant to rise to meet you, they will feel compelled to act clearly, consistently, and honestly, and don't scroll, listen to this, because if they are not, the universe will redirect you without pain, and your heart needs this right now because either outcome is aligned when you don't abandon yourself, and listen carefully, because the cliffhanger here is not about whether they choose you, it's about whether you continue choosing you, and don't scroll, listen to this, because choosing yourself is what caused this awakening, and your heart needs this right now because staying that version of yourself determines everything that happens next, and listen closely, because the universe is already responding, quietly, precisely, and in your favor, and very soon, clarity will arrive not as chaos, but as calm certainty, and when it does, you will know without doubt that what you did was not a mistake, it was the moment destiny finally noticed you were ready. Don't scroll, listen to this message is for you, and if you're still here your heart needs this right now because this is where everything locks into place, and listen closely because what you did didn't just awaken feelings in someone else, it aligned you with a higher version of yourself that the universe can now fully respond to, and don't scroll, listen to this, because when alignment happens, things don't explode outward immediately. They settle inward first, and your heart needs this right now because that settling is what feels unfamiliar, quiet, almost too calm after so much emotional movement, and listen carefully, because calm is not stagnation, it's stabilization, and don't scroll, listen to this, because stabilization is what allows destiny to move without resistance. And your heart needs this right now because you've entered a phase where your reactions matter more than your intentions, and listen closely, because the universe has been speaking through divine numbers not to excite you, but to anchor you in this new frequency so you don't slip back into old patterns, and don't scroll, listen to this, because when 11 appears now, it's no longer about manifestation fantasies, it's about alignment confirmation, the quiet knowing that, I'm standing where I'm supposed to be, and your heart needs this right now because certainty replaces anxiety when alignment is real, and listen carefully, because 222 may be appearing when you feel the urge to check in, to peek backward, to reopen conversations that your intuition already closed. And 222 is divine balance, reminding you that harmony is preserved by forward motion, not by revisiting what already taught you its lesson. And don't scroll, listen to this, because balance protects what's forming behind the scenes, and your heart needs this right now because not everything aligned shows up immediately. And listen closely, because 333 may appear when you feel emotionally supported without knowing why, moments where peace washes over you unexpectedly. And 333 is divine companionship, reassurance that you are not walking this stillness alone. And don't scroll, listen to this, because stillness guided by the universe is very different from silence driven by fear, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer silent out of anxiety, you are quiet out of confidence. And listen carefully, because 444 may be appearing repeatedly when the universe physically blocks impulsive action, distractions, delays, silence where you expected response. And 444 is protection actively working, not against love, but against misalignment. And don't scroll, listen to this, because protection often feels restrictive when emotions want movement, but your heart needs this right now because restriction now preserves your power later. And listen closely, because 555 may be appearing when you feel restless, when part of you wants to shake things up just to feel movement again. And 555 is transformation, reminding you that real change does not require chaos, it requires trust. And don't scroll, listen to this, because trust is what you're being asked to practice now, and your heart needs this right now because trust is the bridge between alignment and manifestation. And listen carefully, because 666 may show up when fear whispers that you're losing control, that staying still means missing your chance, and 666 is recalibration, pulling your thoughts back into truth, reminding you that control is not love, and desperation is not destiny. And don't scroll, listen to this, because destiny responds to steadiness, not urgency, and your heart needs this right now because urgency belonged to the old version of you. And listen closely, because 777 may appear when you feel a deep spiritual calm, a sense that something has been sealed energetically. And 777 is activation, confirmation that a higher timeline is now locked in motion. And don't scroll, listen to this, because higher timelines don't rush, they reorganize reality quietly. And your heart needs this right now because reorganization takes patience. And listen carefully, because 888 may be appearing when you imagine being met halfway, when you picture love that is mutual, open, and grounded. And 888 is divine reciprocity, showing you what you are now energetically available for, not what you are leaving behind. And don't scroll, listen to this, because availability determines what arrives next, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer available for half effort, emotional confusion, or love that requires you to perform. And listen closely, because 999 may appear when you feel emotionally complete, even if the situation itself hasn't fully resolved yet. And 999 is completion at the soul level, meaning you have finished the lesson regardless of what anyone else chooses to do. And don't scroll, listen to this, because your completion does not depend on external validation, and your heart needs this right now because waiting for validation once kept you stuck. And listen carefully, because here's the truth the universe wants you to hear now. The reason someone is crazy in love with you is not because you became distant, cold, or unavailable, it's because you became anchored. And don't scroll, listen to this, because anchoring your energy stopped the emotional leakage that once kept them comfortable, and your heart needs this right now because comfort delays realization, while absence combined with peace accelerates it. And listen closely, because when you stopped explaining yourself, stopped justifying your worth, stopped chasing clarity from someone else, you force the universe to step in as the mediator. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the universe mediates in your favor when you stop overfunctioning emotionally, and your heart needs this right now because overfunctioning used to exhaust you. And listen carefully, because exhaustion fades when you stop carrying what isn't yours. And don't scroll, listen to this, because the calm you feel now is not indifference, it's self-trust, and your heart needs this right now because self-trust is the foundation of aligned love. And listen closely, because if they are meant to rise to meet you, they will feel compelled to step forward with clarity, effort, and consistency, not confusion, not mixed signals. And don't scroll, listen to this, because mixed signals only survive when you entertain them, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer entertaining what doesn't honor you. And listen carefully, because if they do not rise, the universe will redirect you gently, without heartbreak, because your attachment has already loosened. And don't scroll, listen to this, because loosened attachment creates freedom, and your heart needs this right now because freedom is what allows aligned love to enter without resistance. And listen closely, because the cliffhanger here is not about whether they choose you. It's about whether you continue choosing alignment even when curiosity returns. And don't scroll, listen to this, because curiosity can be the last test before manifestation, and your heart needs this right now because passing that test means staying grounded, not reactive. And listen carefully, because the universe is already responding to your steadiness with subtle shifts, new perspectives, new opportunities, new emotional space. And don't scroll, listen to this, because space is sacred, and your heart needs this right now because space allows destiny to step forward without competition. And listen closely, because what's coming will not require you to chase, explain, or shrink, it will recognize you immediately at this level. And don't scroll, listen to this, because recognition feels calm, mutual, and obvious, not intense and confusing. And your heart needs this right now because you are no longer meant to guess where you stand. And listen carefully, because this part ends not with urgency, but with assurance. You did not miss your moment, you created it by choosing yourself, and the universe noticed. And now, everything that unfolds next will respond to that choice, quietly, steadily, and in your favor. And when clarity arrives, it will feel less like surprise and more like confirmation of what your soul already knew all along. Don't scroll, listen to this. This message is for you. And if you've stayed this far, your heart needs this right now because this is where the universe asks you to hold steady while everything rearranges itself around the version of you that finally chose peace. And listen closely, because what you did set something irreversible in motion, not loudly, not dramatically, but spiritually. And don't scroll, listen to this, because spiritual shifts are the ones that last, and your heart needs this right now because you might feel a strange calm mixed with anticipation, like something is circling closer without announcing itself yet. And listen carefully, because that feeling is alignment settling into your nervous system. And don't scroll, listen to this, because when alignment settles, impatience rises as a last test, and your heart needs this right now because tests don't mean delay, they mean confirmation is near. And listen closely, because the divine numbers you've been seeing are not random flashes, they are checkpoints along a path you're already walking. And don't scroll, listen to this, because when 11 appears now, It's not asking you to imagine a future, it's affirming the present moment you're standing in, the moment where you stopped bending yourself into shapes that pleased others and stood upright in your truth, and your heart needs this right now because standing upright changes how the universe treats you, and listen carefully, because 222 may be showing up when your mind starts to negotiate with the past, when you wonder if softening your boundaries would make things easier, and 222 is divine balance reminding you that ease without respect is not peace, and don't scroll, listen to this, because peace is the goal, not temporary relief, and your heart needs this right now because you already learned what relief without peace costs, and listen closely, because 333 may appear when you feel unexpectedly supported, like something unseen is holding you steady when emotions try to surge. And 333 is divine presence confirming that you are not meant to carry this transition alone, and don't scroll, listen to this, because presence without pressure is how the universe teaches trust, and your heart needs this right now because trust is what you're practicing now more than action, and listen carefully, because 444 may be appearing when the universe keeps interrupting impulsive choices, missed connections, distractions, delays, silence. And 444 is protection actively at work, not against love, but against misalignment, and don't scroll, listen to this, because protection can feel like resistance when the heart wants certainty, and your heart needs this right now because certainty is being built internally before it arrives externally, and listen closely, because 555 may be flashing during moments of restlessness, when part of you wants to shake the stillness just to feel movement again, and 555 is transformation reminding you that the most powerful changes happen when you don't force outcomes, and don't scroll, listen to this, because forcing outcomes used to drain you, and your heart needs this right now because you're learning to let outcomes meet you where you are, and listen carefully, because 666 may appear when fear tries to creep back in, whispering that staying grounded means missing your chance, that silence means disinterest, that calm means nothing is happening, and 666 is recalibration, pulling your thoughts back into alignment, reminding you that fear distorts perception, and don't scroll, listen to this, because fear speaks loudly when it's losing influence, and your heart needs this right now because fear no longer runs the story, and listen closely, because 777 may appear when you feel a deep inner knowing settle in, a sense that something has been spiritually sealed, that you crossed a threshold you can't uncross. And 777 is activation, confirmation that a higher timeline is now unfolding, and don't scroll, listen to this, because higher timelines don't rush, they organize, and your heart needs this right now because organization requires patience, and listen carefully, because 888 may be appearing when you imagine love that meets you without confusion, when you picture mutual effort, clear communication, and being chosen openly, and 888 is divine reciprocity, showing you the energetic match you're now aligned with, not the situation you outgrew, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because alignment changes desire itself, and your heart needs this right now because you're no longer craving intensity, you're craving steadiness, and listen closely, because 999 may appear when you feel emotionally complete, even if unanswered questions remain, and 999 is closure at the soul level, meaning you've finished the lesson regardless of what anyone else does next, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because your completion doesn't depend on their response, and your heart needs this right now because waiting for someone else to choose you once kept you stuck, and listen carefully, because the truth is this. The reason someone is crazy in love with you is not because you disappeared, it's because you stop negotiating your worth, and don't scroll, listen to this, because worth is felt energetically long before it's acknowledged verbally, and your heart needs this right now because when you anchored your worth internally, you stopped leaking energy outward, and listen closely, because energy containment is powerful, it forces clarity, reflection, and emotional honesty in others, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because when you stopped cushioning the dynamic with your emotional labor, the universe stepped in to do what you were never meant to do alone, and your heart needs this right now because overfunctioning emotionally kept you tired, and listen carefully, because tiredness fades when you stop carrying what isn't yours, and don't scroll, listen to this, because the calm you feel now is not indifference, it's self-trust, and your heart needs this right now because self-trust is magnetic, and listen closely, because magnetism doesn't pull with force, it draws with presence, and don't scroll, listen to this, because presence is what made them wake up, not absence, and your heart needs this right now because presence lives in how you carry yourself now, grounded, clear, and unafraid to let outcomes unfold naturally, and listen carefully, because if they are meant to meet you at this level, they will feel compelled to step forward with clarity, consistency, and courage. Not confusion, not hesitation, and don't scroll, listen to this, because courage is required to meet someone who knows their worth, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer meant to make love easy for those who aren't ready to show up fully, and listen closely, because if they don't rise, the universe will redirect you without chaos, because your attachment has loosened, and don't scroll, listen to this, because loosened attachment creates freedom, and your heart needs this right now because freedom is the doorway to aligned love, and listen carefully, because aligned love does not feel urgent, it feels inevitable, and don't scroll, listen to this, because inevitability comes from consistency, not chasing, and your heart needs this right now because consistency is what you're practicing now, and listen closely, because the cliffhanger here is not about what they do next, it's about what you continue to choose when curiosity returns, when attention flickers, when old patterns knock softly, and don't scroll, listen to this, because choosing alignment again and again is what locks destiny into place, and your heart needs this right now because destiny responds to who you are being, not what you are hoping for, and listen carefully, because you are being someone who trusts themselves now, and don't scroll, listen to this, because self-trust is the foundation of everything that comes next, and your heart needs this right now because what's approaching will not require you to explain, chase, or doubt, it will recognize you immediately at this level, and when it arrives, it won't feel like a surprise, it will feel like confirmation of everything you chose along the way, and that's how you'll know, you didn't miss your moment, you became it. Don't scroll, listen to this message is for you. And if you are still here, your heart needs this right now because this is the final integration phase, the moment where everything you've learned, released, and embodied begins to crystallize into truth, and listen closely because what you did didn't just awaken love in someone else, it awakened authority in you, and don't scroll, listen to this, because authority is quiet, steady, and unshakable, and your heart needs this right now because you may feel less reactive than ever before, less desperate for answers, less moved by uncertainty, and listen carefully, because that is not emotional numbness, that is emotional sovereignty, and don't scroll, listen to this, because sovereignty is what the universe responds to fastest, and your heart needs this right now because the divine numbers surrounding you are no longer guiding you away from chaos. They are confirming that you are standing in alignment, and listen closely, because when 11 11 appears now. It is no longer about manifestation wishes, it is a mirror reflecting who you've become, the version of you that stopped chasing love and started hosting it energetically. And don't scroll, listen to this, because hosting love means you don't beg it to stay, you create a space where only aligned love can enter, and your heart needs this right now because that space is sacred. And listen carefully, because 222 may still appear when your mind tries to revisit old doubts, old what ifs, old urges to check, reach out, or explain, and 222 is divine balance reminding you that harmony is maintained by consistency, not curiosity. And don't scroll, listen to this, because curiosity is not intuition at this stage, it's a habit trying to survive. And your heart needs this right now because habits fade when awareness is strong. And listen closely, because 333 may be appearing during moments when you feel calm even without answers, moments where peace settles unexpectedly. And 333 is divine presence affirming that you are being held steady while outcomes align around you. And don't scroll, listen to this, because being held does not always feel exciting, but it feels safe, and your heart needs this right now because safety is what real love builds on. And listen carefully, because 444 may continue to appear when the universe interrupts impulsive actions, missed chances, delays, distractions that keep you from slipping backward. And 444 is protection actively guarding the version of you that finally chose yourself. And don't scroll, listen to this, because protection is strongest when temptation is subtle, and your heart needs this right now because subtle temptation is often the final test before manifestation. And listen closely, because 555 may appear now not as chaos, but as readiness, signaling that the transformation you went through is complete and you are prepared for a new dynamic. And don't scroll, listen to this, because readiness feels calm, not urgent, and your heart needs this right now because urgency belonged to the old version of you. And listen carefully, because 666 may show up when fear tries one last time to regain control, whispering that staying grounded means missing out, that silence means nothing is happening. And 666 is recalibration, pulling your thoughts back into truth, reminding you that fear speaks loudest when it is losing power. And don't scroll, listen to this, because fear no longer directs your choices, and your heart needs this right now because choice rooted in calm creates aligned outcomes. And listen closely, because 777 may be appearing more frequently now, and 777 is not a tease, it is activation, confirmation that the spiritual work is done and the timeline has shifted. And don't scroll, listen to this, because higher timelines do not announce themselves dramatically, they feel inevitable, and your heart needs this right now because inevitability does not require chasing, it requires presence. And listen carefully, because 888 may appear when you imagine a relationship that meets you fully, clear, reciprocal, grounded. And 888 is divine reciprocity confirming that you are now energetically matched to that level of love, not because you waited long enough, but because you became aligned enough. And don't scroll, listen to this, because becoming is the real work, and your heart needs this right now because you did that work quietly, without applause. And listen closely, because 999 may appear when you feel complete regardless of outcome. When you realize you are okay whether someone steps forward or not. And 999 is soul-level completion, the sign that your happiness is no longer dependent on external validation. And don't scroll, listen to this, because that independence is what unlocks destiny, and your heart needs this right now because destiny does not move toward need, it moves toward wholeness. And listen carefully, because here is the truth the universe wants you to anchor now. The reason someone is crazy in love with you is not because you pulled away to manipulate, it's because you stopped reaching for permission to be yourself. And don't scroll, listen to this, because when you stopped performing, stopped proving, stopped explaining, you reclaimed your energy, and your heart needs this right now because reclaimed energy is powerful, it changes dynamics without words, and listen closely, because when you stopped carrying the emotional weight of the connection, the universe stepped in to rebalance it, and don't scroll, listen to this, because rebalancing often feels like stillness before movement, and your heart needs this right now because stillness is not stagnation, it's stabilization, and listen carefully, because stabilization allows the right person to recognize you clearly, and don't scroll, listen to this, because clarity is what separates obsession from love, and your heart needs this right now because obsession fades when it isn't fed, but love matures when it is met with truth, and listen closely, because if they are meant to meet you at this level, they will feel compelled to act with clarity, effort, and courage, not confusion, not hesitation, and don't scroll, listen to this, because courage is required to approach someone who knows their worth, and your heart needs this right now because you are no longer meant to lower yourself to make others comfortable, and listen carefully. Because if they do not rise, the universe will redirect you gently, without devastation, because your attachment has already loosened, and don't scroll, listen to this, because loosened attachment creates freedom, and your heart needs this right now because freedom is the space where aligned love arrives, and listen closely, because aligned love does not rush, it recognizes, and don't scroll. Listen to this, because recognition feels calm, mutual, and obvious, not intense and confusing, and your heart needs this right now because you are done guessing, and listen carefully, because the final truth is this. You did not miss anything, you did not wait too long, you did not do this wrong, you did it right, and don't scroll, listen to this. Because the universe does not awaken people through accident, it does it through alignment, and your heart needs this right now because alignment is what you chose, again and again, even when it felt lonely, and listen closely, because loneliness was the doorway, not the destination, and don't scroll, listen to this, because what's next will not require you to fight, prove, or shrink. It will meet you where you stand now, steady, grounded, and awake, and when it does, it will feel less like surprise and more like recognition, like the universe quietly saying, this is why you had to become who you are, and your heart needs this right now because that moment is closer than you think, and everything unfolding from here will respond not to what you want, but to who you have become, and that is why this story does not end in waiting, but in arrival.